Welcome to Mindzilla. I'm Jess.
And I'm Luke, and no, I don't know why I agreed to this either.
Each week, we kick things off by judging and advising strangers on Reddit before tumbling headfirst into conspiracies and interdimensional nonsense.
Jess digs for the truth. I mostly sit here questioning my life choices.
Get bonus episodes every week on Patreon with our tinfoil hat tier, just £3 a month, or go higher to unlock secret perk and early access.
You can also buy us a coffee on PayPal. It's not a cry for help, but it is close.
Catch new episodes every Monday on Spotify and YouTube, audio only. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome back. Let's get deep into another Am I the Asshole? So for this week, I have one saying, Am I the asshole for not believing my wife was not intentionally cheating on me? First of all, I want to say I am not normally the person to post my business on the internet. But for reasons you will shortly see, I need a sanity check on this one. But there is absolutely no way I can share this dilemma with anyone who knows me. It's too effed up, and I'm honestly reeling here. So to try to make a long story short, my wife, 32F, and I, 32M, have been married for 5 years, no kids, but lately haven't been so great. The main issue, frankly, is that there isn't been enough sex, and I keep talking to her about this, but she honestly seems completely indifferent. Like, she doesn't even care that I have needs. I ask her if she wants sex anymore, and she just shrugs. At the same time, she has been going to the gym more, highlighting her hair, wearing more makeup, sexier clothes, etc., which to me seems like a sign of cheating when combined with not having sex with me at all. So frankly, I started to get fed up with the lack of respect and interest and consideration, and above all, the lack of communication. Like, she won't talk to me about this. So while I'm not proud, I did check her phone and discovered very clear evidence she is cheating on me with a male coworker of hers. And not only that, but in a total BDSM way, where she is calling him master and stuff like that. Totally not my thing. And honestly, really upset me way more than just cheating that she would be calling another man master. So obviously for me, this was the final straw, and I knew there was no coming back from this. I just wanted a divorce, and I wanted it right away. No kids, might as well start over while we're still young. So I just confronted her the next day after a night of stewing and sweating on the couch. And here is where the really effed up part starts. As soon as I brought up her coworker, my wife starts sobbing and says she's not cheating on me on purpose, but is under mind control by this man, and that hypnotized her to do these things. She said he literally put her under hypnotic control, so that whenever he says certain trigger words, she goes into a trance and gives her suggestions that she will carry out even when they're not together. Wow, that's impressive. And she in no way wants to be involved in this, but she has no choice because her mind is being controlled. So I'm obviously like, what the F? Because that thing doesn't exist, right? She's telling me this so confidently, as if everyone just knows you can go around mind controlling your coworkers, and it's a thing that happens, but it's not, right? So I have absolutely no idea what to say to this, but I asked her if this is true, why did she never tell me before? And she said his control stopped her, conveniently. So why she can tell me now? She says she doesn't know because she doesn't remember all his instructions. But he might have let her tell me if I specifically asked. Or it might be that the control was broken because it was too emotionally intense. I just honestly did not believe this at all. And I don't even know what to do with this excuse. Like, I've never heard any stuff like this in my whole life. But my wife could tell I didn't believe her, and she started crying and saying I didn't trust her and she wants to get out of the control, and if I can help save her from him, then she'll leave him and never do anything like that again. And I need to believe it's not her fault because she would never do that to me. So basically, at this point, I just left and went to my brother's house and told her I need to get away from this right now. But she's been texting me since, begging me to believe her. And I just told my brother I found out she was cheating, and he said I can stay as long as I want. But there is no way I can tell him all this crazy stuff. So my question is, what the hell? First of all, am I the asshole for not believing my wife? Is this something that really can happen? I know hypnosis is used by psychologists and magicians, but don't have to consent to be hypnotized? I can just imagine if we called the cops about this, they would just laugh in our faces. I feel sick thinking about this either way, but even if it's not true, does my wife honestly believe this? And if she honestly believes she is under control, should I forgive her even if it's not true? That's it.
Jesus. Not the asshole. She's a very good liar.
Well, she tries to be.
She tries to be. That's the wildest excuse I've ever heard for someone cheating.
Top comment on this one. She's the asshole. She got caught and is very obviously grasping at straws to get you to stay, divorce, and move on. And I completely agree with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what an excuse to come up with. How about the mind control?
Yeah.
But magically can break the mind control when she said she couldn't if he asks her about it.
Yeah.
What a load of baloney.
Oh my god. I thought this would be the right episode to show this Am I the Asshole? Because, yeah, it's fitting for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe in mind control. I never believed in that kind of stuff. It's just silly propaganda kind of thing. But to come up with that as an excuse for cheating.
You can be hypnotized, but
I don't believe that because people that are on stage and like a chicken. Absolute heck in hell.
At least you're not having BDSM sex.
Yes, master. Dobby has a saw. That's what it feels like at the end of it. Dobby has a saw. Dobby's free. Broke the mind control to tell you that I'm under mind control.
Yeah. Weird. Do you want an update? So, a couple of people asked for updates, and I was initially reticent.
A what?
Reticent.
Reticent? Never heard it.
It's not just me then. Don't blame the foreigner this time. Anyway. But after everything that happened, I wanted to share what I learned. And I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate people's input, especially on the hypnosis part and how that works. But to be honest, I think most of y'all were a little harsh on me. And it was kind of dumb move on my part to post the situation online when nobody replying knows me or my wife at all. So I wanted to update and shed some light on that. So to get the obvious out of the way, we are getting divorced.
Hey.
So I spent a few days at my brother's house, and while originally I said there was no way I would ever tell him, Finally, we got pretty drunk and I spilled everything and showed him the text from my wife too, where she was insisting she was under control and would never choose to do this to me. To his credit, he didn't mock or make fun of me. Don't know why he would. At all. And since, unlike Reddit, he actually knows my wife, his perspective was honestly helpful and gave me some things to think about that I hadn't considered. And I kind of wish I had just talked to him in the first place, but I was so humiliated I could only talk about it anonymously. But here's what he said. He agreed my wife is a very weak and gullible person. Someone who can easily be manipulated. And maybe she believed she was being mind controlled. But he said that doesn't make her innocent in this. And he made a comparison to people who join cults or spend thousands of dollars in online romance scams. The latter hit home because we have a relative who was involved in this. Their families and loved ones try to get them out and show them the facts, but they continue rationalizing and believing what they want to believe for the sake of the fantasy, of the romance, or of the religion. They might be a victim, but there is no innocent. And I get it. I can absolutely see that kind of behavior in my wife, where she is willing to excuse and stick up for people who treat her like dirt, but not to stick up for herself or the people who are important to her, to where she is willing to stay under the thumb of anyone who will think for her and make decisions for her. The way we got together is I kind of saved her from a bad relationship she was in, and I think she's kind of addicted to the dynamic, to be honest. Letting someone control her and being safe. I've just realized, after talking to my brother, even if my wife believes she is being mind-controlled, can I really go on with my life with someone who would let herself be this deluded to maybe risk our finances, our future children's safety, etc.? Obviously not. I don't think I ever would have stayed with her after this, obviously, but my brother's advice really made things clear to me in a way I hadn't thought of before. So now, what happened with my wife? I did have to go back to our place to get some of my stuff, and honestly, I did want to talk to her. I guess to try to get some closure and to make her hear my perspective. And maybe try to shake sense into her one last time. Like I do still care about her, and I want her to try to figure her stuff out and never do something like this again. So we talked, and the first thing I told her was that we are getting divorced, and she could not change my mind. There was a lot of crying at that. Never I asked her if this was all a lie or does she really believe she was hypnotized, because I very bluntly told her my control is not real and hypnosis doesn't work unless you consent to it. And she told me she consented to the initial hypnosis, which was all non-sexual, but he eventually started putting in sexual suggestions, and by then she couldn't resist. And I said, okay, so why didn't you tell someone or get help? And she said his control prevented her, conveniently. So I told her if she really believed this is true, she needed to contact her HR department and the police. But I think she just needs mental help. And she was willing to sacrifice our marriage for her sexual fantasy. And I hope that one day she can admit it was her fantasy. She didn't argue too much with that, but she didn't admit it either. And she showed me that her text to the guy, where she told him his control was broken and it was over. He said, and I quote, "That's fine. I already got everything I wanted from you anyway." So she ruined our happiness for someone like that. A hard pill to swallow for me and for her. So I told her I had to go, and she asked me if we could stay in or be friends, and I said no. We will talk through lawyers from now on. Not to be harsh, but I don't want to feed her fantasy that I will still save her somehow. I encouraged her to get help. As for me, I'm gonna stay single for a while, to be honest. And I should probably rethink what kind of woman I want to, and try to find a gal who is more independent and doesn't need to be saved, per se. In the meantime, I always wanted a dog, and my soon-to-be ex-wife is allergic, so I think I'm gonna start there. That's it.
Fair play.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't... She said, like, in the first thing, he said that she was controlled even when the person was not in the room, which is completely impossible.
Yeah.
You are not mind controlled. Like, hypnosis works face to face. You have to hear the person's voice. So while he's in the toilet taking a
Always
poo.
with her.
Yeah, taking a poo. He says a word out loud and she's there, hypnotized.
Yeah. This silly woman, like you said, she's gullible.
If he saved her from her
She needs a knight in shining armor. That's what she needs.
Yeah, I think she just wanted to have another toxic bit of fun, because that's what she goes for before him. So she wanted another bit of toxic fun, and then she was found out, and she thought, oh, he saved me once, he's gonna save me again.
It's just stupidity.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Poor guy, but he's going to get a dog.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
He'll be alright.
Yes.
Alright, let's move on.
Let's move on. Right. It's time for another brain game. Today, we're diving into a cognitive hack inspired by some of the mind experiments that probably had the CIA whispering. What if? The Theta Wave hack. This one's about tapping into those deeper, more relaxed brain states where creativity, insight, and intuition hang out. Think of it as giving your mind a stretch without the actual brainwashing.
Alright, Amen. What's this hack going to do to my mind exactly? Am I going to come out of this seeing the future or something?
Not quite. But you might come back with some fresh ideas or weird connections your conscious mind actually skips over. Theta waves are that sweet spot. They sit between the deep, slow waves of sleep and the fast, alert beta waves we use most of the day. It's the same state your brain hits in deep meditation, daydreaming, or when you're in the zone creatively. If MKUltra was trying to crack into this space, they might have been onto something, or maybe just on something.
Alright, let's do it. I'm ready to get weird.
Alright, close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. Let your shoulders drop. Start to slow your breathing, counting to 4 as you breathe in, holding for 4, and exhaling for 6.
Alright, I'm there. Feels like I'm slipping into a trance or something.
Nice. Now, picture a place where you feel totally calm and safe. It could be a beach, a forest, or even just a cozy corner of your house. Picture it vividly. The colors, the smells, the sounds. Let your mind wander there.
I'm there. It's weird how real it feels.
Good. Now, as you breathe, imagine your mind expanding like the ripple of a wave. Let random thoughts drift by without holding onto them. This is the zone where theta waves start to kick in. Kind of mental freefall, where your brain can connect ideas in weird, wonderful ways.
This is trippy. Kinda feels like a deep daydream.
That's the vibe. Now, while you're in this space, try asking yourself a question you've been wrestling with. Something creative. something personal, or just something weird? Don't force an answer. Just let it bubble up.
Alright. I've got something. It's kind of random, but yeah, something popped up.
Nice. Alright. Slowly come back. Take a deep breath in and out. Open your eyes. Welcome back to the world.
Whoa. That was kind of wild. Definitely felt like my brain was wandering through some hidden corridors.
Love it. If you got something interesting or unexpected, let us know. And if you feel a little more tuned in, that's the Theta effect. Alright, enough brain gain for now. Let's crack into some Hope Protocol.
Yep, time to roll back the curtain of the weirdest, wildest, and often darkest corners of the mind. Stick around.
It's time for our Hope Protocol segment. The part where we hit pause on the chaos and focus on the good news lighting up the world. Time to recharge those mental batteries.
Love it. Alright, first up, we've got a story that's truly out of this world. Make-A-Wish, Michigan just made 9-year-old Caden's dream come true by arranging a meet-up with his hero, astronaut Jose Hernandez. Not only did Caden get to hang out with a real-life spacewalker, but he also got a VIP tour at NASA. Jose, a former migrant farm worker turned astronaut, told Caden to never give up on his dream, no matter how far away they might seem. That's the kind of cosmic energy we're all about.
And speaking of making the impossible possible, a design lab in New Orleans called Make Good, NOLA, just took a giant leap of accessibility. They've developed the world's first fully 3D printed wheelchairs for kids, and they're giving them away for free. These little engineering marvels are changing lives and breaking barriers, using cutting-edge tech to solve real-world problems. That's innovation at its best.
And for the big picture thinkers out there, here's a planetary win. China, the world's largest carbon emitter, has actually reduced its emissions. That's a major step towards a more sustainable future, proving that even the biggest challenges can be tackled with the right focus and action.
And in other mind-blowing news, astronomers have just detected oxygen in the most distant known galaxy, located 13.4 billion light-years away. This discovery hints at the early building blocks of life, reminding us how vast and full of potential our universe really is.
And we can't forget the tech breakthroughs this week. Google I.O. is coming up, and they've already teased some wild AI announcements, including a controversial search mode that could totally change how we interact with the web. Plus, quantum computing startup Classic just raised $110 million to push the limits of what computers can solve. The future is looking sharp.
And that's your whole protocol for this week. Proof that even in a chaotic world, there's still plenty of progress, perseverance, and pure human spirit out there lighting the way. Stay tuned, because next up, we're diving into this week's main story, and you don't want to miss it. Alright, look, I've got a question for you. You ever think about how much of your brain you actually use? I know we discussed this in our Patreon, but entertain me here. What if someone could hack the rest of it? Just crack it open and start flipping switches like some sort of psychologic DJ.
Oh, for sure. That's why I don't go near those brainwave meditation apps. I don't need some shady Silicon Valley startup reprogram me to eat more quinoa.
Yeah, right. Like today's affirmation, you love kale, and you will buy our premium subscription.
Exactly. But wait, are you talking about like real-life mind control, like government-level brain hacks?
I'm talking way darker. Picture this. The Cold War is raging. The CIA is freaking out about the Soviets brainwashing American soldiers. And someone in Langley goes, "You know what? Let's just take the whole free will thing for a spin and see what happens.
Well, of course they did. I bet they had a whole meeting too. Someone was like, okay, but can we do it without telling anyone and ruin thousands of lives in the process? And the guy in charge just went, now you're thinking like a CIA agent.
Exactly. And thus, MK Ultra was born. The CIA's top secret mind control program. They dosed people with LSD, hypnotized them, isolated them, and generally did the kind of stuff that makes horror movie villains look chill.
Great. So basically, the CIA was the original mad scientist, but with a much bigger budget and a fewer ethical concerns.
Yep. And the best part, it was so secretive that even most of the people working on it didn't know what the hell they were actually doing. It was like an evil secret Santa, but with brainwashing.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Ted. I got a box full of trauma and a lifelong distrust of the government. Just what I wanted.
Exactly. So today we're cracking open the classified file, flipping through the pages the government tried to burn, and asking, how the hell did this even happen? And more importantly, why are parts of it still classified to this day?
Spoiler alert, it's because they were definitely up to some dark, twisted stuff.
So buckle up. It's time to confront the chaos. Alright, let's set the scene. Picture, it's 1949. The Berlin blockade just ended. The Soviet Union has popped its first atomic champagne cork, and the US is sweating bullets. They're like, oh no, the commies and have the bomb, and our best counter strategy so far is duck and cover.
Right? Like, don't worry, kids. If a nuclear bomb goes off, just hide under the desk, made of a particle board and asbestos. You'll be fine.
Exactly. But the CIA wasn't just worried about getting blown up. They were freaked out about their precious American minds being brainwashed. They heard rumors that the Soviets and the Chinese had cracked the code on mind control, and they had some secret psychological cheat code.
Like up, down, down, left, right. Make your enemy forget who they are and love Marxism.
Exactly. And this paranoia led to the CIA to launch one of the wildest, most ethically sketchy programs in US history. They called it MK Ultra, which, by the way, sounds like a bad Marvel villain.
Or like a protein powder for dudes who lift with too much intensity.
Right? But MK Ultra was way darker than that. It started as a small, covert project in 1953, but it quickly ballooned into this Frankenstein's lab of psychological horrors. They had over 150 sub-projects, ranging from the mildly weird, like trying to turn people into human lie detectors, to the absolutely insane, like dosing entire towns with LSD just to see what would happen.
Oh yeah, like, let's just throw some acid in the water supply and see what happens. What could possibly go wrong?
And it wasn't just drugs. They experimented with hypnosis, sensory deprivation, electroshock, and straight-up torture. They were like, hey, if we're gonna break the human mind, we might as well hit all the buttons.
Right? They basically ran the world's worst spa. Come in for the sensory deprivation, stay for the involuntary mind control.
Exactly. And a lot of this madness was inspired by the Nazis. The CIA scooped up a bunch of former Nazi scientists after World War II under a program called Operation Paperclip. They were like, hey, you know who'd be great at psychological warfare? The guys who invented it.
Yeah. Basically, nothing says land of the free like hiring Nazi war criminals.
Exactly. And those guys brought with them all the terrifying tricks they perfected in concentration camps. Experiments on prisoners, chemical warfare, psychological torture, and the CIA was like, oh, perfect, you're hired.
What's your resume say? conducted horrific medical experiments on prisoners? Hired. Welcome to the team.
And that's how the seeds of MK Ultra were planted, in the ashes of a world war, watered with paranoia and fertilized with, well, total moral bankruptcy. Alright, buckle up, because it only gets weirder from here. Ready to dig into the real madness? Let's talk about the experiments. This is where the CIA went full mad scientists, and I don't mean the fun kind with beakers and crazy hair. I'm talking about the kind where people wake up strapped to a hospital bed with no memory of the past 6 months.
Oh yeah, the kind of science where if you had a conscience, you just had to check it at the door. Please leave your morals in the tray provided before entering the lab.
Exactly. And it all started with the CIA's favorite party drug, LSD. They got it from a Swiss company, Sandoz Pharmaceuticals, who had no idea their happy little lab discovery would end up as the centerpiece of a massive government brainwashing experiment.
Sandoz probably just wanted to make something to help people chill out, and the CIA was like, oh, you could use it to melt with people's minds.
Oh, they definitely did. They even had a whole program called Operation Midnight Climax. Basically, they set up brothels in San Francisco and New York, dosed the clients with acid without their knowledge, and then watched through two-way mirrors. Just imagine the recruitment pitch for that assignment.
So, you want me to go hang out in a room full of mirrors, watch people trip on acid and take notes? Where do I sign up?
Yeah, it was like government-funded voyeurism with a side of psychological trauma. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. They tested on soldiers, prisoners, mental patients, and even their own agents, sometimes without their consent. They were basically running a human horror show with more paperwork.
Right. And one of their favorite test subjects was this poor guy named Frank Olson. He was a CIA scientist who got dosed with LSD without his knowledge during a retreat in 1953. And 9 days later, he mysteriously fell out of a 13-story window.
Yeah, and by fell, the Olson family believes he was more like a government-assisted exit. The CIA later paid his family a settlement, but the truth about what really happened to him is still very murky.
And that's not even the darkest corner of this twisted science fair. They also ran experiments under the code name Sub-Project 68 at the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, led by Dr. Ewan Cameron.
Oh, this guy. The mad scientist's mad scientist. Cameron believed he could reprogram the human mind, literally erase a person's personality and replace it with a new one, like setting a creepy, trauma-filled etch-a-sketch.
Yeah, he called it psychic driving. Basically, he'd put patients into drug-induced comas, blast them with looped messages for weeks on end, and hit them with electroshock therapy so intense it would make Frankenstein's monster flinch.
The guy was like, you know what therapy needs? More electricity and less consent. Some of his patients came in for things like anxiety or postpartum depression and left with shattered identities, permanent amnesia, and in some cases, completely catatonic.
And the wild part? He got paid for this. He was funded by both the CIA and the Canadian government. It's like if Dr. Frankenstein had a research grant.
Right? And don't forget their experiments on prisoners, like the ones at the Lexington Narcotic Farm in Kentucky. They'd bribe inmates with treatments of their drug of choice in exchange for becoming human guinea pigs for their crazy chemical cocktails.
Yeah, like, hey, want to kick your heroin addiction? Cool. Just let us pump you full of untested hallucinogens and see if we can make you forget how to be a person.
And of course, There were the more sci-fi sounding projects, like trying to implant false memories or use hypnosis to create programmable assassins. Think real-life Manchurian Candidate.
It sounds ridiculous until you remember this was the same agency that tried to train cats to spy on the Soviets with microphones implanted in their bodies.
Oh yes, Operation Acoustic Kitty. Because why use a boring old human spy when you can send in Fluffy with a wire? Spoiler, it didn't work. The first cat got run over by a taxi minutes into his mission.
If that's not the perfect metaphor for the CIA's approach to MK Ultra, I don't know what is. It's just expensive and completely bonkers.
Exactly. They weren't just breaking the rules. They were throwing the rule book in a blender, adding some acid and heating puree. And all this madness was hidden behind layers of bureaucracy, names and shredded documents.
And the kicker? Most of the evidence got destroyed in 1973 when the CIA's then director, Richard Helms, ordered all MK Ultra files incinerated.
Yeah, because nothing says we have nothing to hide like a bonfire of classified documents.
What? Those thousands of pages detailing mind control experiments on unsuspecting civilians? Oh yeah, those? Yeah, we thought we'd save some storage space.
And that, my friend, is why we're left piecing this story together through surviving fragments, whistleblowers, and the occasional declassified memo that somehow escaped the shredder. Alright, we've set the stage. Now let's dig into how this madness finally came to light, and why the truth might be even stranger than the conspiracy theories. So the CIA tried to bury this nightmare program under a mountain of shredded files and classified memos, but like every good conspiracy, it just wouldn't stay dead.
Right? Enter the 1970s. A decade where the US government's dirty laundry got aired out like a Grateful Dead festival's lost and found.
Exactly. You had the Watergate scandal cracking the dam of government secrecy, and suddenly everyone looked over their shoulders, wondering just how deep the rabbit hole goes.
And it turns out it went all the way to a secret room in the CIA where some guy was probably still sitting there trying to figure out if he could hypnotize his co-workers into making his coffee.
Right. And in 1975, the Senate decided it was time to drag this madness into the sunlight. They formed the Church Committee, led by Senator Frank Church, to investigate how out of control the CIA had gotten.
Imagine being that guy. You walk into a hearing thinking you're about to find out about some secret spy gadgets, and then you find out the CIA has been dosing people with LSD like a rave DJ with a grudge.
And the testimonies? Wild. Former CIA agents came forward, and suddenly the American public was learning about all these experiments straight out of a horror movie.
And let's not forget the one senator who basically summed it all up. The CIA is a rogue elephant rampaging out of control.
And that is when the real chaos started. Now we're diving into something truly chaotic. And no, I'm not talking about my caffeine-fueled midnight rants. I'm talking about Tom O'Neill's book Chaos and how it completely shakes up everything we thought we knew about Charles Manson, the Manson family, and the government's secret mind control programs.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this one.
Well, buckle up, because Chaos isn't just some wild conspiracy theory. This man was supposed to write an article about the Manson murders, ended up 20 years in this rabbit hole. Humanity should be glad he did it. It's a meticulously researched book that spent over 2 decades peeling back layers of the Manson case to uncover some incredibly disturbing truths. O'Neill's findings suggest that the Manson family murders weren't just the work of a lone madman. No, they might have been part of a much bigger, much darker operation.
So the government had something to do with Manson?
Exactly. O'Neill's investigation points to a strange, almost unbelievable connection between Manson and Dr. Louis Jolyon West, a psychiatrist who was deeply involved with MKUltra. Now, Dr. West wasn't just any shrink. He was one of the lead figures in the mind control research. And when O'Neill started connecting the dots, he discovered that West had direct ties to Manson and even had a hand in his exposure to mind-altering substances like LSD.
That's a bit much, huh?
It's more than a bit much. Dr. West was experimenting on people with LSD, and guess who was on the receiving end? Manson. O'Neill found evidence suggesting Manson had been dosed with LSD before the murders even happened. And when you add that to the fact that Dr. West was an expert in mind control, it starts to paint a very different picture of who Charles Manson really was.
So Manson wasn't just a crazy guy, but maybe a product of MKUltra?
That's the theory O'Neill's put forward, and it makes a lot of sense. Manson wasn't just some charismatic cult leader. He could have been a test subject or even an asset for MKUltra. Think about it. A man who could easily manipulate young followers, use drugs to control them, and lead them into committing unspeakable acts. How much of that was his own will, and how much of it was the result of being brainwashed through years of experiments?
Yeah, that doesn't sit right.
Exactly. And the rabbit hole goes even deeper. O'Neill uncovered that Manson had strange connections to parole officers and was given multiple opportunities to escape serious jail time, despite being a dangerous figure. His freedom could have been part of the plan to see how far they could push someone like him. How far can you push a man who's already been subjected to mind control techniques? How far could someone like him go before they snap and take others with him?
Wow, that's messed up.
You bet it is. And the story doesn't end here. The connections to MKUltra are only a part of it. O'Neill also uncovered that Manson was involved with a group of people in the High Ashbury area, which was a hotbed for counterculture activity during the 1960s. And what do you know? Dr. Louis West's clinic was right there in the heart of it. The clinic was a prime location for drug experiments and potentially for grooming people like Manson and his followers.
Been a test subject in a bigger mind control experiment?
That's the theory. Dr. West and others in MKUltra were known for experimenting with people, using them as guinea pigs for LSD and other drugs. Manson, someone who was already outside the norms of society and looking for answers, would have been the perfect candidate for such experiments. His followers, impressionable and looking for something to believe in, were easy targets too.
That really does explain a lot about how he got such control over them.
Absolutely. And the craziest part is that O'Neill's research kept revealing more and more questions. The government didn't just write Manson off as a madman. They kept him in the shadows for a reason. O'Neill found inconsistencies in the official story, like how certain people connected to Manson were given a pass and how certain documents and testimonies were intentionally kept hidden. It's almost like they didn't want the truth coming out.
So it's not just a story of a crazy cult leader, it's a story of manipulation, control, and potentially a government experiment gone way out of hand.
Yeah, and that's what O'Neill's argues throughout Chaos. The Manson family murders must have been the result of mind control experiments, or at the very least, Manson himself could have been influenced by those experiments. He wasn't just some random criminal. He could have been a pawn in a much bigger game, pushed into actions that were more orchestrated than we realized.
That's a terrifying thought.
It is. And it's the kind of thought that makes you question everything we've been told about the 1960s, about Manson, and about mind control experiments in general. What if the government wasn't just trying to control a few individuals, but an entire generation? What if the Manson family wasn't just an isolated freak show, but a part of a larger experiment in social manipulation?
Yeah, when you put it like that, it's hard to ignore the possibility that it all connects back to MK Ultra.
It's a chilling thought, but O'Neill's research really opens up that possibility. And in the end, Chaos does what a few books have done. It challenges the official narrative. It forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about Manson, about the 1960s, and about the government's role in shaping the minds of those who could easily be manipulated.
Yeah, that's definitely not something you can unthink.
Exactly. And that's why Chaos is such an essential read if you're looking to understand not just the Manson family, but the far-reaching consequences of mind control experiments, because the line between conspiracy and fact isn't as clear as we'd like to think. Right, we've hit the dark, twisted heart of MK Ultra, but where does that leave us now? What did all of this really mean in the long run?
Well, it's pretty much shattered any sense of trust we had in the government, right?
Oh, absolutely. When MKUltra came to light, the American public realized they weren't just being kept in the dark. They were being experimented on without their knowledge or consent. It was like finding out your childhood dentist was actually a mad scientist who replaced your feelings with tracking devices.
Yeah, not exactly what you want to hear on your next dental visit, but you're right. People started questioning everything. If the government was capable of this, what else were they hiding?
After the revelations in the 1970s, trust in government institutions, especially intelligence agencies, plummeted. The Senate hearings, the investigations, the whistleblowers, all of that peeled back the curtain on CIA reckless and secretive operations. And suddenly, the idea of a government that acts in the public best interest seemed less like a fact and more like a quaint ideal.
Guess that's why conspiracy theory started to really gain traction in the years that followed.
Exactly. MKUltra gave birth to a whole generation of skeptics, and not just the fun tinfoil hat wearing kind. I mean, people started asking real questions about government power and control. It wasn't just, is this real? It was, how far does this go? And when you start asking those questions, you can't help but wonder, what else has been hidden from us?
And that distrust didn't just fade away after the hearings, it's still here today in a way.
100%. If anything, it set the stage for everything we've seen now, with modern surveillance, psychological operations, and information warfare. Today's world is full of new tools for control. Just think about how much data we hand over every day, and how easy it is to manipulate public opinion through social media. It's like MKUltra 2.0, but this time it's more subtle and harder to detect.
And the government still got its fingers in a lot of pies when it comes to tech, right? The whole big data thing, AI, mass surveillance, it's like they've learned how to manipulate entire populations without anyone even realizing.
Right. We don't have the same old LSD experiments, but we've got something equally insidious. Algorithms, targeted ads, disinformation campaigns. Modern MKUltra might not involve electroshock therapy, but it's about controlling perception, influencing behaviors, and shaping reality in ways we're just beginning to understand.
That's kind of terrifying when you think about it. It's like we're living in a new kind of mind control.
Exactly. And that brings us to the big question. How much of that we see today is really by choice? Or are we all just following the tracks that were laid out for us, often without even realizing it? MK Ultra's legacy isn't just about the past, but it's about how the lessons learned from those experiments have evolved into the modern tools of manipulation and control.
It's like they've found more effective ways to do it, right?
And more covert. We might not be strapped to a hospital bed and dosed with LSD, but how many of us are addicted to our phones, unaware of how much we've been influenced by algorithms and ads? How many of us are unknowingly shaped by the content we consume and the narratives that are pushed to us every day? It's mind control by design, and we're all just living it.
Yeah. It's wild to think about. What else could still be out there lurking in the shadows?
And that's the million-dollar question. What's hidden in the dark corners of government agencies and corporate boardrooms? What classified files still exist that we haven't even heard about yet? Maybe MKUltra wasn't the worst thing they did. Maybe the next big scandal is already unfolding and we just don't know it yet.
That's pretty unsettling to think about.
It is, and that's the thing. MKUltra might be over, but the mindset that led to those experiments, that's still with us. The tools might have changed, but the hunger for control and power remains the same. And until we start asking the hard questions, the truth, whatever it is, will remain hidden, just out of reach. So to wrap up, if MKUltra taught us anything, is this. Never stop asking questions, because who knows what else is out there, buried in the past, or worse, unfolding right under our noses.
Yeah, let's just hope it doesn't involve cats with microphones this time.
Seriously. But in the end, we've got to keep digging, keep questioning, because the more we know, the less control they have. And of course, MKUltra left these fingerprints all over pop culture. Movies like Manchurian Candidate and show like Stranger Things clearly draw from these dark, twisted experiments. Even bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones got caught up in the LSD wave, which the CIA helped fuel. It's like they accidentally created the soundtrack to the counterculture they were trying to suppress. And if they could get away with this in the 50s and 60s, what might still be happening today? With way more advanced technology and a whole more data on all of us. What can still be happening that we don't know about?
Alright, Jess, now you've got me side-eyeing my phone again.
So, where does this all leave us? If anything, MKUltra is a stark reminder that even the wildest conspiracy theories can sometimes have a disturbing amount of truth behind them. It's a case study in how paranoia isn't always just paranoia, and the line between fact and fiction can blur when secrets are involved.
And if this was just what got exposed, you have to wonder what other experiments never saw the light of day.
Exactly. So stay curious, stay skeptical, and maybe keep an eye on those cats. You never know who they might be working for. And if you need a break from the madness, tune in next week as we take a lighter detour into the wild world of modern cults, including that time Jared Leto maybe allegedly possibly sort of started one, because after MKUltra, we all deserve a bit of a palate cleanser.
Yeah, I think my brain needs to recover from this one.
Don't forget to follow us on all socials, join the madness on Patreon, and keep your third eye open. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Bye.